Welcome. So we had the pleasure to just spend the last 2 hours speaking with Venerable Bhante Paññākāra of the Walk for Peace renown. And he's a very profound monk, and it was a really enjoyable experience for both of us. And because it was a 2-hour interview, we're going to break it up into two different parts. And so what this is the first part of that 2-part session. So hope you enjoy. Bhante, thanks so much for joining us.
Sadhu, Sadhu.
So I'll read a short biography of Bhante before we jump into more questions. But Venerable Bhante Paññākāra is a Theravāda Buddhist monk and former IT engineer who transitioned from a corporate career to a life of mindfulness and service. Born in Vietnam and educated at the University of Texas at Arlington, Bhante Paññākāra immigrated to the US in 1997 and took full ordination in 2010. So same year as me. And I think same birth year as well. Well, you're 81 and I'm 82, but
I see.
it's very similar. So took full ordination in 2010 in the lineage of the Most Venerable Ratanaguna, the last direct disciple of His Holiness, the Venerable Vamsarakhita, founder and first Sangharaja of the Vietnamese Theravāda Buddhist Sangha. In 2020, he launched the Dhammacetiya Project to preserve the Tipiṭaka in a monumental marble stupa complex, a vision furthered by his 112-day, 2,100-mile ascetic Tudong pilgrimage across India and Nepal. That journey, chronicled in his memoir, The Footsteps of a Buddhist Monk, laid the foundation for his most recent undertaking, leading the only very recently completed 2,300-mile, 108-day walk for peace from Texas to Washington, D.C., which most people watching, I think, will know you from. He is currently serving at the Hương Vipassana Bhavana Center in Fort Worth, Texas. So, Bhante, there's so much there, and a fascinating life, an adventuresome life, so many things that we can go into. But how is Āloka?
Yeah, Āloka is actually here. Āloka is very active. He's very active, and he wouldn't want to stay at one place. He would love to roam around and then walk and things like that. And so his surgery, the doctor just came from South Carolina 2 days ago to check up on him. So he has such merit. I mean, people love him so much, and he just got been taken care of well by doctors and everyone. Really, I can't imagine his merit at all, because us from a stray dog, and now that is world famous ambassador. And so he has his own merits that we cannot know about. Right?
Some, Bhante, your act of going on the Walk for Peace rippled out to us very strongly too. We go for alms every morning at Pike Place Market, or most mornings, and ever since after you began walking and people began learning, people would jog by me and just make Anjali, people who never would have before. And we also had a friend recommend that we get a dog, so we have our own Āloka. But Bhante, one thing I wanted to ask, I really, this conversation for me is a chance to kind of, as monastics, for us to get to really speak about the heart and core threads of our lives in a way that, most interviews might not get to touch. And I wondered if you could start with just talking about the moments of faith, the key moments of faith that brought you into robes to ordain.
Yes, I can. For my journey to become a monk is quite different, as we already talk about my bio, a brief bio saying that I was an engineer and things like that. So up until now, I'm not sure why I graduated. Very, I'm really bad at math. Okay. And so after I graduated, and then I went to work for almost 3 years. And during that time of work, I feel like is this really what I want? Is this a path that I want to continue on, or is it something else? Because seeing friends and co-workers and everybody just like, it's really not real. It's fake. It's because when we talk about friendship, it's just purely friendship. That's what I always thought and expect it to be. But obviously it's not, is because of benefits. When benefits involve, then everything just seems like it's changed. And I question myself, is this really, and is it going to be everywhere, everyone, or it's just me? And so days after days of working, and then I see friendship and co-workers and everything like that, you know, people willing to step on us to climb higher. And then go home every day, work, and then come home, seeing my parents and my brother and sister. I don't talk. By that time, I don't talk at all. Just go in my room, and then that's it. That's all day, and then all night. And seeing my brothers and sister also suffer with families' problem issues. And by that time, my family, just a lot of things happening at the same time. My father got into like a really bad car accident by the 18-wheeler, and then but luckily they are okay. And then I rented a car for them, for my father and my mother. And then we hit that car as well the same week. And then we got a different car parked right in front of us and got stole same week. Everything just come to me just like, okay, is this really what I want in my life, or I want a different path? That is the time where my feeling is get stronger and stronger, that I want to seek for something else. And one day during the noon time, a peak noon in Texas weather, we already know it's really weird. It's changing rapidly, right? We call weird weather in Texas, and the people here also weird. And so, being weird, I took off from work. I drove myself to the Hương temple, which is the temple right now. Back then, I was a leader in the youth at the different temple in Irving, nearby to my workplace and my house. But when I took off work, I drove up here. It's like 30 minutes away from where I work. And then come up here, and I saw my teachers, Venerable Ratanaguna. He walk around under the hot sun, and then I follow him. Just walk behind him, and then certainly he stop and turn around and ask me, are you okay? What can I help you? And I just answer him, and I didn't expect this. I said, can I ordain to become a monk temporary? And he smiled and he said, yes, when? I say 2 weeks. Let me arrange my work and things like that. And then after 2 weeks, and I enter to the monastery, and then start to ordain to become a temporary, not a novice, just stay there, as before ordained to become a novice, stay there for a couple of months. And then I went home again to go to work. And then when I go to work, I feel like this definitely not what I want. I need to go back to the monastery. And I asked my teachers, can I come back to the monastery and then go to work during the day? And then at night, I stay at the temple to study and practice. And he said, yes. And I keep doing that for a while. And then one day, when I sweep the floor, sweep the yard when people cut the grass, mowing the grass, and I sweep it, and I saw all those grass that had been cut. and I imagined of my hairs. And I thought, these grass is just like my hairs. If I'm not shaving it, I feel itchy and very difficult for me with that feeling. But then I cannot, just like kilesa, right? Defilement. So, but I cannot eliminate it all yet. I cannot take it, remove them all yet. So I will put you here together, and I will pick you up together, and I will remove them all together later on. I just talk to myself that way. And then when I turned around and I saw one of the leaf, a very young leaf on the big tree by the gazebo. This gazebo is the first thing that my master built when he just first came to the temple. So this is a sacred place for us. And so the leaf, the young leaf, just dropped down in front of me, just like this, slowly in front of my eyes. And I look at that leaf, and I see that leaf. I imagine of myself, this is impermanent. So the young leaf also dropped due to so many conditions, right? Weather and everything. How about my life? One day I will also die, regardless of how old I am at that time. So I will be the same. Then what is real? That I ask myself that way, and I throw the broom right there and then run in. And I saw my teachers walking back and forth by the parking lot again in front of the monk's residence. And I told him the whole story. He said, if you have that knowledge now, you're great. Okay, back then when the Buddha's still alive, the Buddha told people with just one sentence, one quote, and they became enlightenment right away. Or the lady, after listening to the Buddha taught, and then she took a shower, and then she poured the water from top of her head and down to her feet, and she became enlightenment. She realized everything and became enlightenment. Now you see the leaves falling, and you can realize that way. You're great. Then I was so happy when he said that, right? I say, then may I ordain to become a monk? He said no. He said no. And after that, I went home and talked with my parents, and they also say no. So 3 times like that, I asked my teachers and my parents, and they both say no. Until one last time, and he accepted it during the night time. Before that, he told me, for a student, if you cannot go to bed before your teacher, and you cannot stay in bed after your teacher's already awake. That's what he told me. So at 12 midnight, he didn't go to sleep, and he just walked back and forth in the monk's residence. So I dare to go to sleep, right? I just sat there and watch him walking back and forth. And I asked him, Master, can I ordain to become a monk? That's the last time. And I asked him, he said, he's very difficult. He said a lot of things. I am very difficult. Can you handle that? Can you bear with that? And I say, I need teachers like you. I needed teachers like you. And then after a chit chat for a while, and he said, I already picked out the date for you, full moon of April, for you to ordain. And so tomorrow go home and talk to your parents. And then I was so happy. And then tomorrow comes, and I went home and talked with my parents, and they cried so much. I kneel down in front of them, and they pay respect to them, and they cried. And I asked them one last time that allow me to ordain to become a monk, and they all agree. They all agree. There, my journey begins from there, just like that. But I never expected about ordaining to become a monk. I never had that thought before.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. That's a fascinating story. And yeah, it seems like your life is somewhat, until the present day, even somewhat similar to these seeming lines that I see in the history of the religious history of Vietnam. So like Thailand, Burma, Sri Lanka, they're all very much Theravada Buddhist, like 99.9%. Whereas Vietnam, you take a teacher like Thich Nhat Hanh, one of probably the second most well-known monk in the world. He was a Mahayana monk, but he would translate Theravada texts. And your life, you ordained into the lineage of Vamsarakhita, who is the founder of the Vietnamese Theravāda Sangha. And your life is very much Theravada. You made that choice, but also a lot of people have in their minds this idea that Theravada is very selfish. You're going off to live in the forest and practice for your own arahant enlightenment, whereas Mahayana is very much thinking about others and very public focused. And I think your pilgrimage recently is a interesting, combination of both of those. But I'm curious if it was intentional that you chose Theravada. Were you raised in Vietnamese Theravada, or how did you decide to go that direction rather than Mahayana?
In Vietnam, I didn't even know that we are Buddhists. Most of the Vietnamese family, we claim that we are Buddhists, right? Most of the Vietnamese family, but we are not really Buddhists because we don't know anything about Buddhism. Right? We just knowing that we go to the temple and then paying respect to the Buddha, and then with the incense, and then asking for, good health, prosperity, and everything like that. But we don't even know what's the Buddha taught about, or how to practice meditation or anything like that. So we claim that we are Buddhists, but we are not, to be honest. Okay. So back then in Vietnam, my family is same with every other families, that we worship ancestors. We only worship ancestors. And that's all we know. Okay? I didn't even know that who's the Buddha and how he looked like, or what is the temple and what the temple looked like. I didn't even know. Until I came to the United States. This is when my Buddhist begins. Is because it started out with fun. Okay, my friends' school, when we go to school, and they join the Buddhist youth every Sunday, and that is when they ask me, "Oh, go ahead, go to the temple and join the Buddhist youth because it's fun. We have camping and we learn Morse code and semaphore and everything like that, and so it's gonna be fun, And then by that time, I say, okay, then I want to join because staying at home without knowing anybody or going anywhere is also boring. So I joined the Buddhist youth and then learn semaphore, Morse code, and then join with some camping, summer camping and things like that, and learn. And then I got promoted to be one of the leader. And so Buddhists started out from me is directly to Theravada. Right? Because in Vietnam, mostly Mahayana, in Vietnam, mostly, everywhere. But somehow where I live, where I raised up, there's not temple, or because my family is also have to work to raise the whole family, because my family is a large family. I have 10 brothers and sisters. I'm the youngest one. Okay? So I really didn't know how my parents can raise all 10 brothers and sisters like that. Their kids, they can raise them all. And so because of a busy life, that's why we didn't go to the temple or anything. Or maybe it's the temple is far. And so we move around from Đắk Lắk is where I born. We are Huế Central, okay? We from central of Vietnam, which is Huế city. And then when they came to, they went to Đắk Lắk, is one of the city, the state. And then I was born there, and then moved to Bà Rịa Vũng Tàu, and then from there, this is what I still remember when I was still young. My parents and brothers went to work and then I stay home alone. In front of the highway, we live by the side of the highway. There's one monk, Theravada monk wearing a red robe, just like my teacher. He goes for arm round. Okay, he goes for arm round, and he stopped in front of my house. And then when he stopped there, and I didn't even know who he is and what he's doing. And a kid, and I just think that, okay, then I need to offer him something. So I went inside and scooped one scoop of rice. Not the raw one, rice. And I run out, and then he opened his bowl for me to offer it. And I pour the whole cup of rice, raw rice, into his bowl. And then I will run in to put away the can. And I rushed to run out again, and I didn't see him anymore. That is only one way. It's a highway. Okay, he walked that way straight. But when I rushed to run out again, I didn't see him anymore. And then later, I asked my brothers who lived there for a long time, my brother and sister. They say that there's no Theravada temple there. Around us, there wasn't one Theravada traditions. And I really don't know and didn't know who he is and where he's from. But that image of offering to the Theravada monk is stuck with me for a long time until I came to the United States. And then the day when I met my teacher, he wear the same robe. Everything the same. Okay, that reminds me of that incident when I offered to the monk in Vietnam back then when I was really young. And I think that is the sign to brought me to Theravada. And just purely straight to the Theravada. I didn't learn anything about Buddhists at all before that.
Thank you, Bhante. I'm curious, speaking about this kind of contact between Mahayana and Theravada, and you being drawn, your story of being inspired to ordain reminds me of the story of Patachara. And I think this is the one you're referencing, where she pours that foot washing water, and she sees part of the water goes a little bit and then sinks into the ground, and then part of it goes farther. And she thinks, beings can die when they're young or when they're middle aged or when they're old, and then goes into her hut and turns off a candle or extinguishes a candle and becomes enlightened. So that lesson coming from the tree and the leaf is just quite profound. And one thing I'm curious about is, speaking about this intersection of Mahayana and Theravada, your path, obviously you're in Theravada robes, but your life has also been framed in so many ways in robes as a gift. And I think one of the first indications I saw of that on your website, at least, or on the Dhammacetiya website, is the vow you made. And it's phrased in quite profound and powerful language of lifetimes. So would you talk about what inspired you to make your vow and why you made, or what it is?
Yes, Ajahn. This is where it started with. Back then when I just ordained, newly ordained, and then I tried to learn more about Buddhism. I went online on YouTube and then start to search about Dhamma talk and things like that. Try to listen, to learn more, to get more knowledge about it. And keep thinking, and I learn about Tipiṭaka. And I start to read more about it. And I found out that, all those things that taught online and then, is taught by many teachers and many monks, and they always claim that this is the Buddha teaching, this is the Buddha teachings, but obviously it wasn't, right? If they want people to understand, if they want people to follow, then they claim those to be the Buddha teachings. And so those are misleading. And a lot of people follow and believe in that, right? And I asked myself, this generation, my generations, we still have knowledge to understand what is right, what is wrong. But come to the Buddha teachings, all his teachings, we are completely blind like this. And what about the future? My students and my students, what about them? What are they gonna base on to study, to practice? Because later on, it will be much more misleading teachings, right? And so I was worried so much about the future generation because of all these things that I read and listened online. And I told myself, I need to do something. I need to do something to preserve the true Dhamma for the future generations. But by that time, I didn't know what to do. I just have that kind of mindset, that thought. And then I get to go to India once with my teachers and the lady Buddhist here. When I entered into the Bodh Gaya area, by far away outside, and I be able to see the Bodhi tree and the top of the stupa, and I cry. I break down and cry a lot about standing outside looking in. I cry, and I didn't know why. And then I went inside and paid homage to the Buddha and Bodhi tree. And then I sat there under the Bodhi tree to meditate for a while. And then in my mind, I would just wish, what can I do? What should I do to protect the Buddha Dhamma, to preserve it, and to spread it widely? And then continue meditating. After a while, I see some of the top of the jetty. So when I keep seeing all those spear of the jetty in my mind, and I was thinking, okay, then I should do something. I should do something about building the stupa sites to preserve all the Buddha teachings, right? And so when I seen all those spears of the jetty in my head, and I think that, okay, I should build a site to preserve all the Buddha teachings. But to build a site, you have to have a large land and a decent number of the jetty, the stupa, in order to inscribe all those suttas on it. And I wanted to do it in stone because this is the way to preserve it longer in this world. And so by that time, I made a vow under the Bodhi tree. From here on, I made a vow that I will build, if I have a chance, I will build the stupa sites to preserve the Buddha Dhamma. And that will last for 1,000 years for all the future generation to get to learn the true Dhamma. But I didn't know that, how many languages I should put in there, or how many countries that actually have the Tipiṭaka in Pali. So I just make that wish, that vow under the Bodhi tree. Just one vow under the Bodhi tree, and then I went to sightseeing for many other sacred places of the Buddha, and I continue making that vows. But when I make that vows under the Bodhi tree, I feel like when I close my eye, I feel like my body is moving. It's just like everything is moving. And so that is the feeling, the sensation that I would never forget, right? And then after that vow in both under the Bodhi tree of the Bodh Gaya, it took 7 years for me to continue with that vow silently. So everything I do, any wholesome deeds and wholesome things that I cultivate or I do, I just continue to making that vows. wishing that one day my vow will come true, that I be able to do it. Yes, 7 years of doing that. That is where it started.
Bhante, that's so meaningful to hear. And you're right. We consider, we see these teachings online, and it seems like they're so, sustainable. But really, if in terms of the long-term longevity, or if a data center goes out or something, like, where are they then? And you're the third person I've spoken to who's had that sense of the earth shaking under them at Bodh Gaya specifically. I've never heard it anywhere else. So there's a power to that also. And is that Āloka whining in the background?
Yes.
Any chance we can get him on screen really quickly to say hello, or is he too far away?
Āloka, come. Wait, right here. Okay.
All right.
Hey, Āloka. Hey.
Āloka.
Oh.
Shy.
Say hi to Venerable Monk. Say hi. Okay. Okay.
So well trained and so much metta.
Sit down.
But we're gonna have to ask about your story with him as well.
Sit down. Okay. Sit. He's very active.
Yeah.
And he wants to go out, that's why. Go sit down. Sit down. Okay, good boy.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante. Yeah, curious. I mean, the vows that you're talking about now, and Ajahn Nisabo and I and some of the other clear mountaineers have all been to Bodh Gaya and we made our own vows, which kind of have made sense to us. And the vows that you're talking about, the vows to make these monuments, the Tipiṭaka, scriptural monuments, and vows to walk to Washington, D.C., they're very big. But it seems like you also have other more day-to-day vows. Like, I think one of the things, I've had family members who are not Buddhists at all, but just saw you on social media, and they're one of the first things they say is, "How come your robes aren't so cool, Kovila?" You do have very cool robes, and I do at times have some patch envy. But
Got one.
I got some too. But could you talk about that? Just the vows. What is Tudong, and what does your robe not only represent, but how long have you had it, and what is this practice of Tudong and keeping a pangsakula or rag robe?
Yes, this robe right here, I showed it in India in the walk of 112 days where I met Āloka in 2022. And so by that time, I still remember that the assistant of the leader of that walk in India, he also wear this robe. He showed it himself. He collected fabrics from the cremation place and along the road, and he showed it. And he wear those robes for about 12 to 13 years already, and just one set of robe. And he kept doing that. And so this is something that I have, I wanted to do for a long time, but I never have a chance, because staying here in the United States, we wear the same robe as my teachers, which is the red one. And when I had a chance in 2022, after my vow about the Dhammacetiya got announced publicly, then I get a chance to go on the Tudong. That is the first Tudong trip that I got to join. And when I go there, and I also thinking that I will collect fabrics and then I make a robe like this myself. And I did get all the fabrics from trash place and from the brother monks who, their robes are old and they don't use it anymore. So I asked for those, and then collect here and there. I still remember one piece of the fabric is by the Ganchi River. Me and my brother Monk, we both saw one of the white fabric, and we both rushed down and then pick it up. He hold one side, and I hold one side, and I look at him, and he look at me and smile, and I let him have it. But then those fabric cannot be used nowadays. Their fabric is very thin and like silk. It's not like this type of fabric, so it cannot be used. And so collected, and then everywhere we go, when there's a tailor shop, and I go there and ask for the machine to show it together with all these stitches. It takes a long time to do this. It takes so much long because these are so many layers here. With this, it's like 2-3 layers. So without showing this line right here, it cannot stay together. It's always like this. So it's very difficult to wear. That's why you can see many lines, many stitches to stick them together. Since 2022 up until now, when I come back to the temple and I put it away, because I made a vow that I only wear this when I go on a walk on the Tudong. Other than that, normal day, then I just use my regular robe. And this is where it came from. And I got my whole set, 3 pieces, fixing and putting together. Unfortunately, these cannot be dyed. I tried to dye it in one color, but these are different type of fabric.
Right.
So when we both try to cook a really big pot of color and dye in color, and we try to dye it because we have to have one color, right? There cannot be so many colors like this, but it didn't work out. So time is rushing, so we have to wear like this. But luckily, it's not too obvious with this color. These colors are still matching with all our allowed robe, right? Colors. It's not too obvious, but I definitely will get some other fabrics that be able to dye it and replace this, right? And wearing these, I feel like, because they are thick enough. The Sangati is about 5 layers. It's super heavy. It's super heavy. I remember in India when we walk and we caught in a rain, it's soaking wet, and then it's way heavier than normal, right? And then we walk every day like 30 miles per day, and so it wears out a lot already. Plus the rope and the bags and the bow, so it's way heavy. It's like some monks putting rocks in my bowl or something.
Well, I was happy for you. So the Sangati is the one that goes over your shoulder, where in America it has all of the pins from the different sheriffs and towns. And I was very happy that it looks so thick. I mean, ours probably weigh maybe like 1/10 or at least a quarter of what yours weigh. But I was happy because you're sleeping outside, and it's basically a blanket, a full blanket.
It is. I'm grateful that we have this rope, and the Sangati is thick enough for us because it's super cold. Sometimes you saw us wearing like the beanie, is it called? Hat, and wearing socks and things like that because it's freezing. So we have to adapt to the weather. Otherwise, when we walk, we cannot cover that Sangati like normal, when we stay at one place. So we have to adapt to the weather, try to keep us safe to continue moving on. And that Sangati, when added those pins on, it's like double. It's very heavy. Yeah. And I try to keep this robe, still wearing this robe, because I'll be going to Sri Lanka soon. We will have a short walk for peace in Sri Lanka for about 5 or 6 days before receiving the Buddha relics, trying to cultivate some merits to handle the relics back to United States.
Bhante, speaking of your trip to India, would you mind telling us about how you met Āloka and how he came back with you?
Mm. Day 6 of that journey from Kolkata, India, there was so many dogs that follow us, right? But like couple hours and 1 or 2 days, they all quit. Āloka followed us on day 6, but he was same as the other stray dog around. In India, a lot of stray dog. It's almost everywhere. And so he saw us walk, and then he just followed at the beginning. He also hesitated to get closer to the monks too. But then when we feed him with cookies and things like that and snacks, and he could continue following day after days, and then he get used to us already, and we build trust in each other. And he followed me. He followed the monks, and I took care of him really well every day. When he see mud, when he see like dirty water, he just sunken himself down there. So his body is always dirty every single day. And he encountered a lot of fight too, stray dogs. He, being a stray dog, I believe that he have to protect himself. That is why when there's dogs around, and he always attack and try to protect himself and the monks. So he encountered a lot of fight, and also got into a car accident once. The car hit him really bad, like 10 meters away, flew 10 meters away. And so, but he still survived, and he got into like a really bad condition, illness, vomiting, diarrhea, coughing, and his nose always stuck with mucus and things like that, so he cannot breathe. By that time, I thought he's gonna die because no vet, no medicine at all, right? Sometime when I try myself to look for a vet, but the doctor, when trying to give him injection, use the needle and poke into his leg, and then the needle is like straight like this, it bent like this. The vet took out and then straightened it out and poked it in again. I was like, really, is this something? This is abnormal at all. So keep doing that for 5 different vets, and he's still unrecovered. And then finally, by the border of India and Nepal, he was really in a bad condition. His body starts to smell and very cold. So I believe that he's dying. And I carry him in my arm and walk around by the village, by the markets, and asking for vet. When I talk in English, they respond in Hindi, so I didn't know what they're saying. Luckily, I found one of the company, and they speak English, and they helped to locate the vet. And we found one of the vet. I took him there. The vet gave him injection and medication and things like that. But before that, before we met with the vet, I took off because he was in that building, so I think he's safe. So I went to get some stuff, and then when I returned, he wasn't there. He wasn't there, and then I asked the owner, and they say no, they didn't see him. They didn't realize that he left. And so we look around, but we couldn't find him. So I thought, where could he go? Because he cannot walk that far, right? And I was thinking, he might go back to the immigrant office, because that is where we started out to go look for a vet, right? That is when I pick him up and carry him in my arm and walk around. And I walked back to that immigration office, and he was lying there waiting for me. And I called Āloka, and he started to stand up, and then happy, and I'd come to pick him up and go see the vet. That is when I remember is the most stood out to me, because he's very smart. He thought that I left him or something, right? And so we be able to shift him. And after a long journey, I think that almost come to an end, and I think that he deserved better. If I leave him there at the Bodh Gaya, then he will go back to his old day, which is being a stray dog again. And I don't want that. And I keep on checking and asking, how can I bring him to America? And animal in India coming to United States is red flag. It's not allowed. So after a long time consulting and then working with different companies, and we finally got him all kind of vaccines and everything, prepare himself, and $14,000 for him to fly from India to here after all the documents and everything in a cargo airplane, cargo compartment. And he flew on a different airplane, and I go on a different one. And when he got to JFK, New York, he got there and quarantined for 28 days. 28 days there. And then after that, we went there to pick him up, to bring him by road to our monastery, a long journey of driving. And he became U.S. citizen just like that. And that $14,000 is actually supported by our volunteers, our people here. When they heard that I want to bring Āloka to United States, they just cook, vegetarian food, and they cook and sell it to fundraise for Āloka. And they got that amount of money to pay for Āloka to come to the United States. So he came to the United States, and then he messed up my kuti. Yeah, Āloka is like that.
Wow. Yeah, talk about a lot of merit. That's impressive. Bhante, your walks for peace in general are so interesting. The term walk for peace has different meanings, and the way that you do it kind of combines multiple meanings there. So before I ordained, just growing up in America, had people who I looked up to just on the level of politics or social justice, like Martin Luther King Jr. and the Birmingham bus boycotts, or Gandhi doing the salt marches, or even Thich Nhat Hanh starting to get into Buddhism. They would do these long walks with many, many people for social justice. And then I remember reading the biography of Ajahn Mun, kind of the grandfather of the forest tradition in Thailand. And he would do a different type of peace walk, where he's just going alone, walking in the forest and sleeping like you, a very hard life, but very much alone, looking for seclusion, versus what Gandhi and Thich Nhat Hanh and Martin Luther King Jr. and others are kind of looking not for personal seclusion, but for it's kind of building social power and coherence. And your walks kind of combine both of those. I mean, you are sleeping rough and living rough and walking barefoot and sleeping in the cold, and you don't know where you're going to sleep maybe, or what you'll have to eat the next day. But you're also building up a lot of social movement. I mean, people who had no idea about Buddhism learn about you, and there comes this kind of momentum in the volume of people and of news. Attention just gets more and more. And I'm curious how you balance those. Like, did you start your first walk for peace? Were you looking for personal seclusion, or has it always been looking to bring attention and to create community, or has it always been a mix of both?
Yes, Ajahn, it's a mix of both. So when we walk, we want to practice ourselves. Like I said, in my walk, most of the time we stay at the temple, and we have a lot of opportunity to practice meditation in sitting posture, right? And we can just go into my kuti and then lock myself down for a couple of days or months if I want. if I want. But by doing so, there's still a big piece that is missing out that I couldn't find it. And I see so many sufferers around, our society and around me. And everywhere I go, I just see sufferings, people, and not knowing how and where to start to get out from all those sufferings. So I keep asking myself, what can I do as a Buddhist monk? What can I do to help? If I just stay here at the temple and I can serve the small community, whoever comes to the temple, and I can support, I can help. Or if I want to be secluded myself, I just, go into the kuti and then lock myself in that for months if I want. My teachers stay in the kuti for 1 year straight to meditate without seeing anybody already. He have done that in 2017 before I went to Myanmar to practice. And so in this walk, I talk with my team that we need to practice mindfulness when we walk, trying to find out what's the difference between sitting and walking. As Buddhist monk and all practitioners, we always sit in to practice, right? Most of the time. But walking for a long distance for every day to practice is way different. It's very difficult to. And walking like 20 to 30 miles per day, that wears out a lot too. Tired, exhausted. Right? Then how can we balance it, and how can we cultivate on our breathing, and how can it be mindful? So that is the biggest challenge for us too in this walk. For myself, I put the concentration by the nostril, the breathing, continue breathing while I walk. And at the beginning, because not so many people knows about this walk at the beginning, right? And we just walk, and we get to practice a lot at the beginning. Not like back then, the more we walk and the more people come out, and that is the time where we have to greet people a lot. So it is kind of like thankful to the beginning where not many people coming out, not many people notice us, that we get to prepare ourselves. We get to prepare ourselves for the bigger one, right? And we did. We practiced hard at the beginning. We sleep outside and anywhere, like Ajahn just mentioned. We're not sure that what we're gonna eat, and then not sure where we're gonna sleep. Someday they kick us out. Sometimes we sleep, by the side of the highway. And those nights, I could not sleep because, worried for the whole team. If one car crashed down or fall asleep when driving, the whole team could die, right? Because on the highway, 70, 90 miles per hour, especially at nighttime, they drive very fast, right? So most of the time I couldn't sleep because I need to watch out for the team. And so I get to practice myself a lot during those days for over a month. And going through the cold, the freeze and moistures and everything, we are wet every night. And so that is the time where I see myself as, okay, here I'm practicing myself, even though we're walking in a team, but each and every single one of us, we have our own space, because nobody knows how we, that person practice, how that person practice, things like that. So it's kind of secluded for myself and my the other monk who walk with me all the time, wearing the symbol Ajahn Pia Thammo. And we sleep outside like that. We get to experience more different things, right? When we sleep outside and throughout the night under the rain and things like that, we experience a lot. So that also support us in the practicing. And then when we get bigger and bigger, when the crowd getting larger, that is the time where I have to put myself into the stage where I have to deal with so many different views, different people, right? Government official, police, protesters, and the people who come out to support. That is a time when my mind is constantly thinking, what to do, how to do this, and how to handle this. It's just like, and not just me, but because I have to support the whole team, have to watch out the whole team, even the volunteers. I have to watch out for everybody. So as a leader of Walk for Peace, I learn a lot through that and practice myself. And these are the time where I utilize all those time when I practice at the temple, right? Now that things happen, how I deal with it, how I react with it. So in my talk, I said, it doesn't matter how long we practice it in the forest or in the mountain or in the cave. It doesn't matter really. The matter is when we go down, when we get out of that comfort zone, when things happen, how we handle in it, how we react to it, that tells us how much we practice, how much we gain from all those practice. Right, so I appreciate the first over a month, the first those days to get ourselves prepared for the larger crowd. And once the crowd gets larger and larger, and that is the time where I have to be with the communities more than myself. Because walking every day, you imagine that 12 miles of walking, that is 12 miles of people. Hundreds of thousands of people along the road to the lunch and the night locations. So walk into the lunch, take a quick lunch, and then go talk. After talk, get ready to walk. Get to the night location, not even have time to rest. Go out and talk again until like 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. Every day like that. So those days at the the middle and the last segment, I put myself in the communities. So I did both of those.
Bhante, if you need to take Āloka out, we can wait.
Okay, he just want to.
No worries. Please, Nimonka.
Okay, let me give him some treats.
Right.
What's going on, Āloka?
We relate to your Tudong story. The first time we kind of got close to each other was walking Tudong in California, and I remember specifically camping in a grove of poison oak with Ajahn Kovilo, and that's where we really bonded. But his Sanghati was way thicker than mine, and I was cold every night, and you were not.
I had a wool Sanghati. It was great. So that was the end of our first of two-part interview with Venerable Bhante Paññākāra.